Hello, story lovers. Tonight, we're diving into a tale of passion, secrets, and choices that could change everything. Hearts will be broken, love will be tested, and every twist will leave you on the edge of your seat. Comment below where you're watching from. And if this story moves you, hit like, subscribe. Share it with someone who loves a powerful love story. And tap the bell so you never miss the next thrilling chapter. Ready? Let's begin. The digital clock glowed 4:30 a.m. in the suffocating darkness of Alina Rodriguez's childhood bedroom. Her trembling fingers folded worn clothes into an old canvas bag, each movement deliberate and silent. The house creaked around her like a living thing holding its breath, waiting to betray her escape. 8 months. 8 months since her father's funeral, Beatrice had transformed from the sweet woman who'd won his heart into something cold and vicious. The bruise on Alina's wrist had finally faded, but the memory of yesterday's confrontation burned fresh in her mind. Worthless scribbles, Beatrice had screamed, throwing Alina's paintings into the trash. "You're nothing but a burden, just like your pathetic father said you'd be." Alina's art supplies clinked softly as she packed them. Each brush, each sketch pad, represented hope for a future she'd only dared to dream about in the safety of her locked bedroom. The $200 she'd saved from her grocery store job felt thick in her pocket. Every bill, a small victory stolen from months of careful planning. The kitchen table received her simple note. "I'm going to find my place in the world. Don't look for me." The pre-dawn air bit at her skin as she stepped outside, canvas bag cutting into her shoulder. The bus station hummed with fluorescent lighting and the smell of stale coffee. Early commuters moved like ghosts, avoiding eye contact, lost in their own morning rituals. "One-way ticket to San Francisco," she whispered to the clerk, sliding crumpled bills across the counter. The elderly bus driver noticed her white-knuckle grip on her bag as she climbed aboard. His kind eyes crinkled at the corners when he smiled. "First time traveling alone, miss?" Alina nodded, trying to project confidence she didn't feel. "I'm starting fresh. San Francisco's a good place for new beginnings," he said, his voice warm like her father's used to be. "Full of dreamers and artists. You'll fit right in." As the bus pulled away from everything she'd ever known, Alina pressed her face to the window. The landscape transformed from familiar small-town streets to vast, unknown territories. With each passing mile, terror and exhilaration warred in her chest. She was finally free. But freedom came with a price she was only beginning to understand. 12 hours later, San Francisco's skyline rose before her, like a promise written in steel and glass. The cool ocean breeze carried salt and possibility as she stepped off the bus, her legs unsteady from the journey and the magnitude of what she'd done. The Mission District hostel was cheap and smelled of disinfectant, but it was hers. That first afternoon, she wandered the colorful streets, drinking in vibrant murals and artistic expression that bloomed on every corner. For the first time in months, she felt alive. The next morning brought reality crashing back. Job hunting in an expensive city with no references and a hostile address proved brutal. Cafe after cafe, gallery after gallery, the answer was always the same. Not hiring. No openings. Maybe try somewhere else. By late afternoon, hunger gnawed at her stomach. She'd eaten only a stale bagel that morning, trying to stretch her dwindling funds. The financial district's gleaming towers made her feel small and out of place among the suited professionals. But desperation drove her forward. Lost in admiring the way afternoon light played across a building's glass surface, her artist's eye caught by the architectural beauty, Alina stepped off the curb without looking. The screech of brakes shattered the air. A sleek black Tesla stopped inches from her legs, so close she felt the engine's warmth through her worn jeans. Her heart hammered against her ribs as she stared at the luxury vehicle that had almost ended her newly liberated life. The driver's door opened with a soft click, and the most striking man she'd ever seen emerged from the car. Adrian Blackwood was tall and lean, his dark hair catching sunlight like spilled ink. Piercing green eyes seemed to see straight through to her soul. And his charcoal suit was clearly expensive, tailored perfectly to his athletic frame. Everything about him screamed power and money, two things that had never touched Alina's world. "Are you hurt?" His voice was deep, concerned with just a hint of refined accent that spoke of boarding schools and privilege. Alina tried to speak but found her voice had vanished. She managed to shake her head, still in shock from the close call. Adrian studied her face, struck by her natural beauty and the vulnerability in her large brown eyes. There was something authentic about her that he rarely encountered in his world of corporate meetings and calculated social interactions. "I'm so sorry," Alina finally whispered. "I wasn't paying attention. It was completely my fault." Adrian frowned. In his experience, near accidents usually resulted in angry confrontations or attempts at compensation claims. This young woman was apologizing as if nearly getting hit by his car was somehow her responsibility. "No," he said firmly, surprising himself with how much he wanted to reassure her. "I was driving too fast for a busy street. The fault is entirely mine." Lena looked at him with genuine surprise. She had expected arrogance or blame from someone who obviously had money and power. Instead, she saw sincere concern and what appeared to be kindness in his remarkable green eyes. "Are you certain you're not injured?" Adrian asked, taking a small step closer. He could see that she was shaking, and something protective stirred within him. "You look pale. Maybe you should sit down." "I'm fine, really," Alina replied, though her legs felt unsteady. "Just startled." Adrian noticed her worn clothes and the way she clutched an old canvas bag, as if it contained everything she owned. Her shoes were scuffed, and there was a weariness about her that spoke of recent hardship. His instincts, sharpened by years of reading people in business, told him this young woman was struggling. "Are you new to the city?" he asked, trying to sound casual despite his growing curiosity about her story. Alina hesitated. Should she trust a complete stranger with the truth? But something about his manner made her feel safe, as if she could be honest without fear of judgment. "I arrived yesterday," she admitted. "I'm looking for work and trying to start over." The words carried a weight that Adrian recognized immediately. He had spent years observing people, learning to read between the lines during negotiations and meetings. He knew when someone was running from something painful. "San Francisco can be overwhelming at first," he said gently. "But it's also a city that embraces people looking for second chances." Lena felt an unexpected warmth in her chest. After months of harsh words and constant criticism from Beatrice, this stranger's kindness felt like sunshine after a long winter. "I should let you get back to your day," she said reluctantly, taking a step backward. "Thank you for not being angry about the accident." Adrian felt an inexplicable urge not to let her walk away. There was something about Alina that intrigued him, awakened a curiosity he hadn't felt about anything beyond business in years. "Wait," he called out as she started to leave. Alina turned back, their eyes meeting again across the short distance. For a moment, time seemed suspended between them. "I didn't catch your name," Adrian said. "Alina," she replied after a brief pause. "Alina Rodriguez." "Adrian," he said, extending his hand with natural politeness. "Adrian Blackwood." When their hands touched in a simple handshake, both felt an electric current pass between them. Alina quickly withdrew her hand as if she had been burned, while Adrian found himself reluctant to let go of the connection. "Perhaps we'll meet again." "Alina Rodriguez," Adrian said, his voice carrying something she couldn't quite identify. As Alina walked away, moving quickly down the busy street, Adrian remained standing beside his car, watching until she disappeared around a corner. Something fundamental had shifted in those few minutes of conversation. He pulled out his phone and dialed his assistant. "Marcus, I need you to run a background check on someone." "Alina Rodriguez, early 20s, new to the city." He paused, staring at the corner where she'd vanished. "And Marcus, I want to know everything." 3 days later, Alina sat in her hostel room, eating ramen noodles and calculating how many more meals she could afford. The job search had been brutal. Her $200 was down to $47, and the hostel required payment every 3 days. Panic clawed at her throat as she faced the possibility of sleeping on the streets. A soft knock interrupted her spiraling thoughts. "Package for Alina Rodriguez," called a voice from the hallway. She opened the door to find a delivery man holding an elegant black box tied with silver ribbon. Her hands trembled as she signed for it, wondering if Beatrice had somehow tracked her down. Inside, nestled in black tissue paper, lay a simple but expensive-looking dress in deep emerald green. A handwritten note was tucked beneath the fabric. "I have a proposition that might interest you. Dinner tonight, 7 p.m., the Cliff House. The choice is yours." Alina's heart hammered as she held the dress up to herself in the cracked mirror. It was beautiful, more beautiful than anything she'd ever owned. But accepting felt dangerous, like stepping off a cliff with no knowledge of what lay below. Her phone buzzed with an unknown number. "Before you say no," Adrian's voice was warm through the speaker. "Hear me out. I have a business proposition. Nothing more." "How did you get my number?" "Does it matter?" "You need a job. I need someone I can trust. Sometimes fate provides exactly what we need when we need it most." Alina closed her eyes, weighing her options. Pride warred with desperation, and desperation won. "Just dinner." "Just business. Just dinner," he agreed. But something in his tone suggested nothing about Adrian Blackwood was ever just anything. The Cliff House restaurant perched on the edge of the Pacific, its floor-to-ceiling windows offering breathtaking views of crashing waves. Alina had never been anywhere so elegant. The emerald dress fit perfectly, making her feel like she was playing dress-up in someone else's life. Adrian was already waiting, his dark suit impeccable, those piercing green eyes tracking her every movement as she approached. He stood when he saw her, and something shifted in his expression. "You look stunning," he said simply, and she believed him. "Thank you for the dress." "You didn't have to. I wanted to." His interruption was gentle but firm. "Please, sit." The waiter appeared instantly, pouring wine she couldn't pronounce the name of. Adrian ordered for both of them without consulting a menu, his confidence in this world absolute. "So," Alina said, trying to steady her voice, "what's this business proposition?" Adrian leaned back, studying her with those unnervingly perceptive eyes. "I need a personal assistant. Someone discreet, intelligent, and completely separate from my usual social circles." "Why me?" "You don't know anything about me? I know enough." His smile was enigmatic. "You're running from something painful. You have no connections in this city. You need money. You have no reason to betray my trust for profit, since you clearly have none." The brutal honesty stung. But she couldn't argue with its accuracy. What would it involve? "Managing my schedule, handling correspondence, accompanying me to social functions. The salary is $100,000 a year, plus living expenses. I own a guest house in Pacific Heights." "You'd live there?" Alina nearly choked on her wine. $100,000 was more money than she'd ever imagined having. It was salvation wrapped in an offer too good to be true. "Why are you doing this?" Adrian was quiet for a long moment, his fingers tracing the rim of his wine glass. "Because I recognize something in you that I once saw in myself. The look of someone who's lost everything and refuses to break." The sincerity in his voice caught her off guard. This wasn't the polished businessman speaking. This was something raw and real. "There's something else," he continued, his tone shifting to something more dangerous. "Complete discretion is required. What you see, what you hear, who comes and goes, none of it leaves the property. What exactly am I agreeing to keep secret?" Adrian's smile turned predatory. "That depends on how much you want to know, Alina Rodriguez." The way he said her name sent shivers down her spine. She was standing at the edge of an abyss, and he was offering her wings. But wings, she realized, could also be chains. "I need to think about it, of course," he signaled for the check, movements fluid and controlled. "Take tonight. But know that some offers have expiration dates." As they stood to leave, Adrian placed his hand on the small of her back to guide her out. The touch was light, professional, but it burned through the fabric of her dress like a brand. Outside the restaurant, his driver waited beside the Tesla. "Marcus will drive you back to the hostel," Adrian said. "You're answered by tomorrow, Alina. After that, the offer disappears." She slid into the luxury car, her mind reeling. Through the tinted window, she watched Adrian standing in the restaurant's golden light, his phone pressed to his ear. "Yes," she heard him say, as the car pulled away. "Everything is proceeding exactly as planned." 6 weeks later, Alina had settled into a rhythm that felt like a beautiful dream. The guest house was more luxurious than anywhere she'd ever imagined living. With its hardwood floors, floor-to-ceiling windows, an art studio Adrian had insisted on adding when he learned about her painting. She'd thrown herself into the work, organizing Adrian's life with an efficiency that surprised them both. But it was the quiet moments that unraveled her careful emotional defenses. Coffee together in his study at dawn, his hand lingering on hers when he passed her documents. The way his eyes followed her across a room full of San Francisco's elite. Tonight was different. Adrian had returned from a 3-day business trip to New York with an edge she'd never seen before. He'd barely spoken during dinner, his usual charm replaced by something darker, more intense. "There's something I need to tell you," he said, setting down his wine glass with deliberate precision. Alina's stomach clenched. In 6 weeks, she'd learned to read his moods, and this felt like standing on the edge of an earthquake. "I haven't been entirely honest about why I hired you." The words hit her like ice water. "What do you mean?" Adrian stood, pacing to the floor-to-ceiling windows that overlooked the city. His reflection was ghost-like against the night sky. "Your stepmother, Beatrice, hired me to find you." The world tilted. Alina gripped the arm of her chair, trying to anchor herself as everything she'd built over the past month and a half crumbled. "What?" "She's been looking for you since you left. Apparently your father left you something in his will. Something valuable enough that she's willing to pay substantial money to get you back." Alina's voice came out as a whisper. "How long have you known?" "Since the day we met." Adrian turned to face her, his green eyes intense and unreadable. "The background check I ran revealed everything. Your father's death, the inheritance, her search for you. I knew exactly who you were when I offered you this job. So this has all been a lie." The words tasted like ash. "Everything. The job, the house, the way you looked at me. All of it was just you keeping me here until you could collect your fee. It started that way," Adrian said, his voice rough. "But it's not that simple anymore." "Not that simple?" Alina shot to her feet, anger finally overwhelming the hurt. "You've been lying to me for 6 weeks. You made me trust you, made me feel safe. And all of it was just an elaborate trap. Alina." "Listen to me now." She backed away from him, her heart shattering with each step. "How much? How much is she paying you?" Adrian's jaw tightened. $2 million. The number hit her like a physical blow. She was worth $2 million to Adrian Blackwood, but only as a commodity to be delivered. "My father must have left me something significant for Beatrice to spend that kind of money." Her voice was hollow now, empty of the warmth that had grown between them. "What is it?" "A trust fund. Your father protected it legally so she couldn't touch it while you were a minor. But you inherit everything when you turn 21. That's next month. $25 million. The number hung in the air between them like a curse. "And you were planning to what, exactly? Drug me? Tie me up? Hand me over like a package? I was never going to give you back to her." The words exploded out of him with startling intensity. "Never, Alina. What started as a job became something else entirely. Something I wasn't prepared for." She laughed bitterly. "And I'm supposed to believe that? From someone who's been lying to me since the moment we met?" Adrian crossed to her in 2 long strides, his hands gripping her shoulders. "Look at me. Really look at me." Against her better judgment, she met his eyes. "I fell in love with you," he said, his voice raw and desperate. "Somewhere between watching you paint in the mornings and seeing you laugh at terrible movies, I fell completely, irrevocably in love with you. The money means nothing. Beatrice can go to hell. You're not going anywhere." For a moment, hope flickered in her chest. Then reality crashed back. "How can I ever trust you again? How do I know this isn't just another lie to keep me compliant?" Adrian released her shoulders, stepping back as if she'd struck him. "Because I'm telling you the truth now. Because I'm risking everything to keep you safe." "Safe from what?" "From her? From people who see you as nothing but a means to an end? From a world that will try to use you for your money?" His voice cracked. "From men like me, who started out seeing you as a job, instead of the extraordinary woman you are. Alina felt tears burning her eyes, but she refused to let them fall. I can't do this, Adrian. I can't be here knowing that everything we built was founded on deception. So what are you saying? I'm saying I need to leave tonight, Alina. Please no. She held up her hand, stopping him. You made your choice when you decided to hunt me down for money. Now I'm making mine. As she turned to go pack her things, Adrian's voice stopped her at the doorway. She'll find you without my protection. Beatrice has resources, connections. She won't stop looking. Alina looked back at him one last time, memorizing the face that had come to mean everything to her. Then I'll have to be stronger than she is. But as she climbed the stairs to pack her few belongings, she heard Adrian pick up his phone and dial. Marcus, we have a problem. Alina knows everything, and she's leaving. Activate the contingency plan. Now. Alina's hands shook as she threw her few belongings into the same canvas bag that had carried her dreams to San Francisco 7 weeks ago. The art supplies Adrian had bought her remained untouched on the studio table. She couldn't bear to take anything that reminded her of what she'd thought they'd shared. The house was too quiet. No sound of Adrian moving around downstairs, no soft jazz playing from his study. Just the thundering of her own heartbeat and the distant crash of waves against the cliffs below. She crept down the back stairs, avoiding the main entrance where Adrian might be waiting. The kitchen door led to a service path that connected to the street. If she could just make it to the main road, she could disappear into the city before he realized she was gone. The cool night air bit at her skin as she stepped outside, her bag clutched tight against her chest. San Francisco's fog rolled in from the bay, wrapping around the expensive houses like a shroud. Going somewhere? Alina spun around to find a man emerging from the shadows beside the garage. He was tall, broad-shouldered, with cold eyes that reflected the security lights. Not Adrian. Someone else entirely. Who are you? Marcus Hendricks, Mr. Blackwood's head of security. His smile was all teeth, no warmth. He asked me to ensure you stayed put until morning. I'm not a prisoner here. No, Marcus agreed, pulling out a tablet and showing her the screen. But you might want to reconsider leaving. The image made her blood freeze. Beatrice sat in what looked like a luxury hotel room, very much alive. And very much not the desperate woman searching for her missing stepdaughter that Adrian had described. She's been in San Francisco for 3 days, Marcus continued conversationally. Staying at the St. Regis. Actually, lovely woman. We've had several productive conversations about your future. I don't understand, Adrian. Wasn't lying about the inheritance. 25 million is quite a sum. But he wasn't entirely truthful about who hired him either. The pieces began falling into place with horrible clarity. She didn't hire him to find me. Oh no. Beatrice hired him to keep you exactly where you are until you turn 21 next week. You see, there's a small clause in your father's will that Mr. Blackwood didn't mention. If you die before claiming your inheritance, it reverts to your nearest living relative. Alina's legs went weak. Beatrice. Smart girl. The plan was elegantly simple. Adrian was supposed to gain your trust, keep you isolated and dependent, and then arrange a tragic accident after your birthday. A grieving stepmother inherits everything. Adrian gets his fee, and everyone wins. Except me. Well, yes. Except you. But Adrian said he loved me. He said he wouldn't give me back to her. Marcus chuckled, the sound devoid of humor. Adrian Blackwood is very good at making women believe he loves them. It's quite useful in his line of work. The kitchen door opened behind her, and Adrian stepped out into the night. But this wasn't the man who'd held her hand during movies or brought her coffee while she painted. This Adrian was cold, controlled, and utterly unrecognizable. I told you to wait until morning, he said to Marcus, his voice flat. She was leaving. I thought you'd want to handle this personally. Adrian's eyes met Alina's, and for a moment she thought she saw a flicker of the man she'd fallen in love with. Then it was gone, replaced by something much more dangerous. You couldn't just trust me, he said quietly. You couldn't just stay and let me protect you. From what? From you? From her? From all of them. His control cracked slightly, letting something desperate bleed through. I was trying to find another way, Alina. Some way to keep you safe and get you your inheritance without anyone getting hurt. By lying to me? By making me fall in love with you while you planned my murder? I never planned to hurt you." The words exploded out of him with such force that even Marcus stepped back. The job was supposed to be simple. Gain your trust, wait for your birthday, arrange an accident. But then I got to know you. I watched you paint. I saw the way you lit up when you laughed. I fell in love with you, and everything changed, but not enough to tell me the truth. I was protecting you from the truth, the way you're protecting me now. She gestured to Marcus, who still held the tablet showing Beatrice's image. Adrian looked between them, and Alina saw the exact moment he made his decision. His shoulders straightened, his expression hardened, and when he spoke again, his voice was steady as stone. "Marcus, go back to the main house. Tell Beatrice the girl got away, sir. You heard me. Alina Rodriguez died tonight. Car accident on Highway 1. Very tragic. The body was too badly damaged to recover." Marcus looked confused. "But the money is irrelevant." Adrian pulled out his phone and showed Marcus the screen. "I've already transferred $5 million to your account. Take it and disappear. Tonight, if I ever see you again, if you ever contact Beatrice again, I'll destroy you. Do we understand each other?" Marcus stared at the phone screen, then at Adrian, then finally nodded. "Understood, sir." He pocketed the tablet and melted back into the shadows. Alina stood frozen, trying to process what had just happened. "You just gave up $2 million. I gave up $25 million, Adrian corrected. "Your inheritance dies with you, remember? Beatrice gets nothing if there's no body to claim it." Adrian stepped closer, his hands raised as if approaching a frightened animal. "Because I meant what I said earlier. I love you, Alina, more than money, more than my reputation, more than my own life. But I'm supposed to be dead now. How do we new identity, new life? I have contacts who can make Alina Rodriguez disappear completely and create someone new in her place." His voice softened. "If you want that, if you can ever forgive me enough to trust me again." Tears finally spilled down her cheeks, hot against the cool night air. "How do I know this isn't just another manipulation?" "Because I'm giving you a choice. Should have given you from the beginning." He pulled a set of car keys from his pocket and held them out to her. "Take the Tesla. There's $50,000 in cash in a bag in the trunk. Drive away from here and I'll make sure you stay dead to everyone who ever hurt you. You'll be free, and if I stay. Then we figure out how to build something real on the ashes of all these." Liza Alina stared at the keys dangling from his fingers. Freedom. Safety. A chance to truly start over without the weight of her past or the threat of Beatrice hanging over her. But as she reached for them, her fingers brushed against his, and she felt the same electric current that had passed between them that first day on the busy street. She looked up into his green eyes and saw not the calculating businessman or the smooth manipulator, but the man who had brought her art supplies and listened to her stories about her father and held her while she cried over movies with happy endings. "I can't promise I'll ever trust you completely again," she whispered. "I know, and I can't promise I'll forgive you quickly. I know, but I can't walk away either. Not from this. Not from us." Adrian's exhale was shaky with relief. "So what do we do now?" Alina took the keys but didn't step away from him. "Now we disappear together. And we spend whatever time we have left building something honest. Together? Together." As dawn broke over San Francisco Bay, two figures walked hand in hand toward a black Tesla. By noon, Alina Rodriguez and Adrian Blackwood would be gone, disappeared into the vast anonymity of America's highways. In their place, two new people would emerge. People with clean slates and honest hearts, and the courage to love despite the odds stacked against them. Behind them, the guest house stood empty, its windows reflecting the morning sun like closed eyes. Inside, abandoned art supplies waited on a studio table. A note on expensive stationery lay torn into pieces in a wastepaper basket. The note had read, "Some love stories begin with lies and end with truth. Some begin with manipulation and end with sacrifice. The rarest ones begin with collision and end with choice. But the most important words were the ones never written. The ones spoken in quiet moments between two people who had learned that sometimes the greatest act of love is the willingness to let someone go. And the greatest act of courage is the willingness to stay. 6 months later, in a small coastal town in Oregon, a woman with honey blonde hair and new identity papers sold her first painting to a local gallery. The signature in the corner read Alina Barnes, but the style was unmistakably hers. The man who ran the gallery had kind green eyes and gentle hands that no longer trembled when he touched her. He'd given up everything for love, and she'd chosen to trust him despite every rational reason not to. It wasn't the ending either of them had planned. It was better. The end.